So the first question, which as I presented here, is a kind of a myth. It's a question in all of our mind. Can we get to the source in every case? How many percentage of cases go into the source? Can we learn these techniques? Are there techniques to take the patient to the source? How do we make it much, much more easier? Is the case taking different to go into the source? All these questions is what we are going to learn the answers today. Well, in 2 hours, we cannot speak much. And unfortunately, with the limitation of not being able to show you the video case, I would miss a lot of essence, but I'll try and do my best possible here. So if I take an answer of the first, is that every case is different. There would be a case which would work very well at a pathological level. Sometime a case can work out excellent at a keynote level or a peculiar rubrics level. Well, just some time back, I was discussing with one of my colleague, and we were discussing that how Bonningason was given some number of cases of tuberculosis, and in all those cases, he had to just give 3 or 4 cases of simple remedies, and he cured most of them. And with simple use of keynotes and the peculiar rubrics and the remedies. Then there are group of cases where patients very easily goes to the sensation. So the first group were the pathology, the keynotes, or the rubrics. We just look at the peculiarities and they would not go so easily to the source. But it's very easy, and this is the place where patient gives you a sensation, where the experience of the patient comes out very, very well. That's the most potential case where we would learn the language. So not every case, and the number would vary, whether you call it 1% or 10%, it varies from person to person. Because why the percentage differs is what you will see further in the case, in the PowerPoints further. And that's exactly the technique that we are going to talk about. And how do we make it easier? That's what we would see. So it's the journey for us from the complaints. Usually, most of the time, patient comes and talks about their complaints. So for us, it's a journey from complaints to the experience. How they give us a local complaints, maybe it may be cough or a cold or a skin complaint or whatever. And then we go deep down to an experience level. And then we go to the source. Patient presents to us with too many symptoms. And they do not go in an order. That, oh, let's start with a name level and then go to the fact level, and then we give you emotion and then the delusion. And then he will tell us, okay, now I'm giving you sensations. No, that doesn't happen. It's all jumbled up. It's all chaotic. Too many symptoms and expressions. But if you see in every where there is chaos, there is cosmos. So we very rightly, Carl Jung has spoken very well that in all chaos, there is cosmos, there is order, there is secret order, there is pattern. 25 years back, we could never think that each plant falls into an order. that there is plant family has an understanding, plant order has a family, plant kingdom has an understanding, or same with animals. Minerals were the first that we learned from Jan Schulten. So everywhere there is order, we have to learn to see that, see the pattern. Now, these patterns, there are two aspects to it. One is the information, and another is learning to perceive the information. Just as an example, I know that dog is a source energy for lac caninum, and these are the expressions. This is the energy. So I must know everything about the behavior of dog. I must know this information very, very well. Only then I will be able to connect it when the patient gives me. So knowing a lot of source information is very, very helpful. For me, preparing Vital Quest software, where we would prepare natural information of all the remedies of all different animals and plants and minerals, helped me to gain this knowledge. So learning the source information about is one part, but the second part is learning to perceive it. The art of being receptive and seeing that language. And this artistic part, we cannot teach you. We can guide you. We can show you that this is how it can be done. Because every case is going to be different. It's not going to be the same repetition. So we can show you the milestones, we can guide you, we can show you the path, but ultimately it's you who will have to grasp it. A deeper knowing should be there, and do it yourself. The biggest thing that we have to learn here is this: the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious mind. The name, fact, emotion, and the delusion levels are conscious. And this is a place where we will not get any hint of any strong symptom of the source. Only when you look at the very peculiar expressions, we will talk about it, the sensation level, the energy level, which are unconscious. This is where the sensation comes up. This is where you will get the source language. So, of course, do we say that name is not important, or a fact is not important, or emotion is, the delusions are not important? They are important. But they are important for us because they help us to go deeper to an unconscious level. We take help of that and go to an unconscious sensation. We have spoken it last time, and I'm very sure most of my colleagues would have explained you that how do we identify sensation. So I'm just going to refresh it in a second. It's like it's an unconscious experience. It's extremely illogical. It comes up very spontaneously. It's a global phenomenon. It's constant, irrespective, like patient's childhood, patient's adult life, or the later life, their emotions, their physical complaints, their dreams, fears, fantasies. Everywhere we will see the same thing. It's expressed in non human words and gestures. So now here comes the point, that how do we perceive the sensation and how do we go to that level, the source. Every situation or a symptom is a human thing. Whether you talk about a symptom or you talk about a pathology, it can be a common symptom as well. Like, for example, if the dust enters into my nose and I would start sneezing. If I sneeze once or twice, okay, the dust is out and it's okay, it's normal. Nothing to be treated here. But I continue to sneeze 1,000 times, a lot of times. Or irrespective of anything, every morning I sneeze. Still, it's a very common symptom. But then I would say, doctor, when every morning when I wake up and I'm just fine, and suddenly I start sneezing and I sneeze and I sneeze and sneeze, and I'm not lying, doctor. I sneeze thousands of times. Now, sneezing or a frequent bouts of sneezing, okay, we can understand. But what's peculiar, sudden, and the intensity that patient is describing. So the quality that I attribute, the extra things, the extra qualification that I give it to sneezing, that's what makes it very unique. And that's what we have to learn to listen to. I'm not bothered about sneezing as one symptom. It's there, it's helpful, it's a common symptom, it's there. It has its own value. But what's important is the sudden, and it's the intensity. Now, in the whole case, I would look for this sudden and intensity. Of course, the patient, I gave remedy stramonium. I'm not going to describe the whole case. But that sudden violence is what then that came up in her dreams, in her behavior, in her life, and fears, and everywhere. Or we talk about emotional level. Oh, suppose if I lose somebody close to me and I feel grief about it, it's a very common thing. It's a logical thing. It's a normal thing. But just imagine a death which happened 25 years back. And when I'm talking about it today, I experience in the same acuteness the shock of that sudden loss of the loved one. I still experience very, very, very intensely, and I cannot get over it. Then that becomes peculiar. Or stress during exams, anticipation during exams, or public speaking. Very, very, very common feature. But what you experience, how you describe it, what are the words you use, what gestures come up, what's deeper to that? This is what we have to see. Because this extra qualifications, this how they describe it, the words they use, the qualities they describe it, how they perceive and experience it. All this is what we want to listen. I'm not interested in examination. I'm not interested in the death. I'm not interested in the sneezings. But I'm more interested in those qualities that gets attached to it. Because it's those qualities which becomes global, which connects with everything in the state. So that sudden and violence you will see in the dreams, you will see in the fears, you will see in the situation, you see the clinging that comes up. And then that makes it peculiar. That gives us further. And that's when you extend it further, when you stay in that region, is where the source gets depicted.